General Manager back with another video, and we are reacting to 2020 NFL free agency. And Drew, at the time of us recording this video, free agency hasn't even officially started. It's just a legal tampering period, but so much has taken place. Elephant in the room, the nonsensical trade, in my opinion. DeAndre Hopkins is being shipped to Arizona in exchange for a second-round pick and David Johnson. Now, there's some additional details there, but that's really the gist of it. So Drew, we've already talked about this off air. I want to get your thoughts. I want the audience to understand what your thoughts are on the happenings associated with this particular deal.
I don't know. Like when I saw it, I was shocked. But then I saw who was attached to it. When you talk about, you call him B.O.B. Bob, Bill O'Brien. I don't understand it. All right, so maybe they don't want to pay DeAndre Hopkins and okay, all right, well let me look at the contracts. Let's look at the contract with David Johnson. Let's look at the contract of DeAndre Hopkins, and we're talking about like $1 million in difference, $1.5 million in difference. So that didn't make sense to me. Well, then let's talk about, maybe DeAndre Hopkins and Bob didn't get along. Well, I mean, sometimes you gotta make things work. Or if you're gonna trade them, okay, if that's the case, fine, that's fine. You can go with that, but you got to get more than what you got. That just doesn't make sense to me. And the way that Bob uses his running backs, it still doesn't make sense to me. So I don't understand, unless David Johnson going to play receiver, unless David Johnson going to play out the slot, unless David Johnson going to play running back, fullback, it just doesn't make sense to me in terms of why you traded that receiver for a running back. I mean, running backs are a dime a dozen in the league. So explain it to me.
You mentioned the salary figures, and by all accounts, DeAndre Hopkins was looking for a new deal, one that's more on the line with him being paid as one of the top receivers in the league. At the time he signed his extension, that was the case. The market has dramatically shifted. He was probably looking for about a $6 to $7, anywhere from $6 to $8 million annual increase. All right, more in that $20 million range, where he's currently around 13 or so, 12 to 13. So I understand that. From my perspective, you pay DeAndre Hopkins that money. But like you said, if you get to the point where, okay, we can't afford this, we made some decisions, some poor decisions, and we have some things tied up, we're going to have to, extend Deshaun Watson here shortly. We got to move on from him. To your point, you have to get more than what you got for him. We're talking about a running back who's had a myriad of injuries over the last few seasons. He's had back problems, and those are one of the types of injuries that tends to linger.
Neck and back.
And like you said, as much as I want to see running backs get their money, we have to face the economic structure and the attrition associated with the position. All right, they had good value out of Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson.
Yep.
I completely understand bolstering that particular position group, but David Johnson, considering what's happened, now you want to take a flyer on David Johnson, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you got to give me. I'm going to need that top 10 pick. You understand what I'm saying? It's just. It baffles me. We're talking about a 27-year-old receiver who's been named to the All-Pro team the last few seasons. You know what I mean? I'm flabbergasted by the continued futility associated with the front office in Houston, and that's centered around one individual, and that's Bill O'Brien.
Well, and then you talk about what's left over there. What's left there now? Will Fuller, QT. I like to call him Q-Tip. I mean, you don't have anything there. So now you put yourself in a position where you have to draft a guy. Oh no, did they go get Randall Cobb?
They did.
How much did they pay Randall Cobb?
They're paying him $9 million a year.
Okay, so my mind is blown. I don't know, and if I'm a Texans fan, I might have to vacate. I might have to pick a new team because I don't know that Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing. You have a team who was handling the Super Bowl champs, and then that got blown up and blown out and turned into, it pretty much got turned upside down. So I just don't. I guess he's the football mind in the front office,
in the organization,
and so they just let him do what he does. Maybe he's got pictures. Maybe he knows how to. You get people that know how to speak very well, and maybe he's one of those guys. I don't understand it. It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I'm sure fans that are obviously more familiar, more in tune with the day-to-day operation associated with the Houston Texans could speak to this. I imagine, Bill O'Brien has ingratiated himself to the right people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the Texans have won. Now, has that all been the genius of Bill O'Brien? No, of course not.
Talent.
They've had talent, and they've played in a pretty up and down division. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? With a lot of turnover and question marks at quarterback with the other teams in that division. So he's kind of been playing with house money, but to have parlayed that into being basically the football czar of the Houston Texans, and to see now that he's traded away Jadeveon Clowney as well as DeAndre Hopkins, and neither one of those trades netted a first round pick, it's just hard to get my head wrapped around it. As for the Cardinals, they have to be elated. They have to absolutely be elated. What do you think about Hopkins' fit in Arizona? What that means for Kyler Murray, and then of course they retain their top 10 pick. They can address that offensive line as well.
So now you go from a Larry Fitzgerald, who you know he can get open. He's gonna catch the football. He's not gonna drop it. Then you get another guy who you can just throw the ball up to in an area, and he's gonna catch it. He's gonna get open. He is open at the snap of the football. So that's another thing. And then you talk about the Arizona Cardinals. You talk about the position itself. It's something that they were gonna need going into the draft. You know, one of the things that I understand watching football free agency through the years is when you go into free agency, it's not one of those things where you're going to go out and you're going to get the top guy. If you can, then you do it. But the goal is to fill your roster so that when you go into the draft, you're not pigeonholed to a position. They're not pigeonholed to a position outside of offensive linemen,
right.
But we know it'll be there for them and they can get their guy and they don't have to worry about, damn, should we get this receiver or should we get this offensive lineman? Now we can get this cornerstone piece, and that I love what they're doing over there.